Hello one, hello all. Welcome to this special edition of WILI Interviews. Today I actually have actual filmmakers this time. Let me give you a quick story about this film and who we have here today. Roger from Channel Dawnstar sent me a care package of movies of stuff that perhaps I haven't seen, that may be under the radar, that maybe I should check out. And there's a couple of discs there, and there's one he said that if you're claustrophobic, you're gonna want to check this out. And you're not going to want to check it out, but actually what he said. So I heeded the caution and threw it on. And sure enough, really, really tense movie. Pretty dark color-wise. Everything involved is pretty dark. But sure enough, 45 minutes in, I noticed that my shoulders were just so tight, and I'm in a fetal position. And next thing you know, it was working. I needed Advil, and it was just intense for all the right reasons. And the film in question is Crawl or Die. And joining me today is the director, Oklahoma Ward, and the star, Nicole Alonso. Please say hello, everybody.
Hi, how you doing?
Hello.
Appreciate you having us on here. That was bro. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. So I guess the one thing I'll start with, which I thought was a bit taboo, but hopefully it's not. It's a low budget film, micro budget by Hollywood standards. You guys made this film for $5,000, around $5,000.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually classified as a no budget film in Hollywood. We found out when the studios brought us in to talk about the sequel. And yeah, I mean, it's a thing where we met in Los Angeles on this other no budget film I was doing, and that movie, when we finished it and edited it together, it was horrible. And so I wouldn't release it. I may release it down the road just so people can see how you can learn from mistakes and everything. Mm-hmm. And it was of no fault from the actors or the crew. Everybody did a great job. It was just, I made the mistake as a no budget filmmaker trying to make a movie like Hollywood made a movie. And it just doesn't work. You can't force in a dolly shot and all that kind of stuff when you don't have that stuff. So it was probably one of the biggest learning curves I ever had as a no-budget filmmaker, that why am I trying to make a film like Hollywood does when they have millions of dollars and they can do that very well. And so I told Nicole I had always wanted to try and do a film that happened completely underground, because some of my favorite movies are The Great Escape. I love The Descent, and
Okay, sure.
and I love that one scene in Aliens where Bishop gets in that little metal tunnel. I thought that scared the hell out of me. We were only in it for like 40 seconds in Aliens, but I thought, man, if there's something in there, there's nothing for you to do. Like, you can't fight it, And I've always I saw this movie called Buried a long time ago, and
the Ryan Reynolds film.
Yeah. And
Yes, it's okay.
What I loved it, but I had a problem with it, and my problem was that they took us out to do these flashback scenes, and because when we were in the coffin thing, I was terrified, but when they took me out, I fell out of the movie, and then they put you back in, and I thought, I wonder if it's possible to do a movie where we keep you in a real tunnel, no cutaways, like really capture from beginning to end that feeling that I got during The Great Escape when they were in the tunnels, etc. And I talked to a bunch of people, and they said, no, you can't do it because you have to follow the traditional arc of a movie. You have to. That's why they always throw flashbacks in. An audience cannot take physically a whole movie inside a tunnel. So
I can attest to that.
I was like, if you're independent, part of the beauty of being independent is you can experiment. You can make films that Hollywood would not make. And that's not a bag on Hollywood. We love mainstream Hollywood movies. We go out every weekend and see movies, and I love independence, and I love all types of film. I can even watch a musical. I've got no problem with them. But I do think sometimes as independent filmmakers, we try to recreate what Hollywood does. So I said, you know what? We're going to do this. The problem is we're both We have no money connections with anybody. We're in the middle of Oklahoma. I've got nobody in the movie business. So I was like, look, we have the drive. We've got equipment. We're just going to spend 1.5 years and build the set ourselves, which is what we did, and put the story together. And then we got the actors together and we shot it. And we ended up having to do all of it because we had no money. Like, we did the editing, she did all the sounds, she did all the music, she sang the tracks of the songs, color correction. We even put it on a DCP. We had to learn how to, in the version, get it onto a DCP to be shown in movie theaters. So we had to find somebody who could make a codec to do that. So we really, from nuts to bolts, did the whole thing, just she and I and a crew, sometimes about 4 or 5 people, many times just she and I. I think the last 25 minutes of the movie was just her and I filming. You know, they were real tunnels. It would take us an hour to crawl into the tunnel. If the battery went out, you had to crawl back out. It was crazy. It was insane, those last few weeks of filming.
Yes.
Did you shoot it chronologically? Did you shoot it in order, or was it?
No, we did. There's an interesting little story about the film, in that when I originally shot the film, you never saw the monster because I felt like I didn't have a budget or the time to create a monster, and I didn't want to do a CGI monster. So the first film, you only heard it and you never saw it, and that was all shot chronologically. When the sales agency bought the film, they gave us an extra $1,000 and kind of pushed us into a corner and said, we won't release it unless you we want to see the creature. So we had to go back.
You should say $1,000 in a week.
Yeah, they gave us a week. So
wow, what heroes?
Create
$1,000, huh?
We had to create it, shoot it, and edit it, and remix the sound on the whole film in 1 week. And but we did it, and we were actually pretty happy with the results.
Yeah, it was insane though.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it does. It sounds mind blowing. I don't know if $1,000 is a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, especially with that time frame.
Not to
That's
come
great.
up with and have the guy. I mean, the guy that we found had to create it, build it, come out here. You know, that alone, I mean, $1,000 on a movie budget might cover the coffee for us on that. But, you know, I think one thing that we learned is we had to find people who were like, they understood, we're not going to get rich off this. They're not going to get rich off this, but they love movies. And so we had to find people that were like, look, I don't care. You don't have any money to pay us, but let us come on and be a part of this. And that's what we were able to come up with. And so, plus it does make it good that we're a team because, like during that week, for example, I'd work on the edit for 2 hours. She'd be sleeping, and then we'd just switch off. And then she'd start the edit for 2 hours, and I'd sleep. And then that's how we were able to get it done in a week. So, yeah,
that's really impressive. You know, if I could say at least one thing that really stuck out to me, I watched it on a home theater.
Right.
The sound design, you guys did that yourselves too, correct?
Yeah. Ironically, we saved up after the movie was done. Everybody we spoke with said, "Oh, you do not tackle sound. You always have to have a professional person to mix the sound." So I sold a bunch of my collections of stuff, comic book collections and all that.
Mm-hmm.
She sold some stuff, and then we were able to kickstart some money. We went and hired a professional guy, and we hated the way it sounded. So we scrapped his whole thing, and she and I sat down for 4 months, learned how to surround mix, learned how to 5.1 mix, and we literally remixed the whole movie ourselves. And I got to say, it's one of those things. Now, that's really where she shined. She really took over that and really made that work. And
I get geeked about that kind of stuff because I love to do music as well, but I find creating sounds for the creature and just atmospheric type sounds, it really was, I enjoyed creating those kind of things and kind of diving into that. So
No, it was phenomenal. Let me tell you that, like, it definitely, for at least in a home theater, like I said, you could look at you on the screen and you're facing back, and you hear the monster behind you, and it's like this is exactly the way it should be in a major, like, multi-$100 million film, and it sounds big. Let me tell you, it sounds like a big film.
Well, we appreciate that.
For whatever that's worth.
That is a huge compliment. We really appreciate that. It's funny because we had a learning process on that also, where there were people who would listen to the 5.1 on speakers on a computer screen when they rented it from iTunes, and they were like, "Wow, you can't even hear the creature and stuff." And we're like, "That's when we learned you can only mix it for a system, and then if people decide they want to listen to it on their iPhone, they're not going to get the bass, or they're not going to hear the, And so at first we felt bad about it. We were like, well, should we put out an iPhone mix and an iTunes mix? Yeah. And we were like, you know what? We put out a stereo mix.
It was a huge learning curve because we would mix it 5.1 and then listen to it stereo and be like, we have to fix that sound because in stereo you can't even hear it. So we fix it, and then on 5.1 it was like it would blow the speakers out. So we just had to sort of find a happy medium and go, there it is. Like if you watch it on 5.1, it's gonna sound perfect, but if not, we can only do so much. But
yeah. What are you doing watching that on your phone anyway?
Well, when we found out we were gonna be on iTunes and stuff, we knew we could watch it there. So we're like, let's see what it sounds like. And I was
Fair enough. I guess.
We're like you probably. We have a system, and because we love movies so much, we're
I would never watch a movie on my iPhone.
Exactly.
No.
I'd be extremely desperate for a movie to watch it on my iPhone.
Yeah. I need to be like in a car or just not moving or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Even then, I'm using a tablet. Like my iPhone
is so small.
Yeah. I guess I'll start with a question for you, Oklahoma. Something I noticed. It's at least it seemed like it to me. It seemed like early on in the film, like when the team was being briefed, that you were really tight. You were really tight with close-ups. Now, was that done artistically? Was that done because of budget? You didn't really want to show what was going on around them, or was that like more in line with the actual theme of the movie?
It was pretty much artistic. I mean, I laid down the gauntlet for certain things that I wanted the film to be like. For instance, Stanley Kubrick did a film called Barry Lyndon, where everything was lit by candles. Okay, and I love that. It's one of the things. The Descent. I love that movie. This is no critique on the movie, but there were times when they did what I call Hollywood lighting, where for some reason the back of the cave was lit. And I understand why they do that. But I laid down a couple of rules for this film. Number one, the tunnels had to be real. Number two, the only lighting had to be what was really lit. And if the soldiers in there couldn't see, the audience couldn't see. And so I felt like I stuck to that. I also wanted to make sure that I got a lot of close-ups because I felt like the whole movie, I wanted to create an uneasy feeling and a claustrophobic feeling. And so I really pushed that in the beginning, knowing that it would bother part of the audience, and it did, and knowing that aesthetic is going to make some people angry, and it did. But then there are other people that just love it, that it works for them, And so you make those choices and go, I know this isn't going to be a clean version, and it's not going to be what people are used to looking at, but it is what it is, and we're indie, and so that's what we went with.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I feel like at the end there, when Tank, like towards the end, before something comes down from a ceiling, you have a long shot there. You have a wide shot, and it actually feels earned. With I mean, seriously, like with everything you go through, it's just like, oh, finally you get to see a little bit around the room. It really felt earned. Like you said, people were bothered by it, but like it if they were bothered by that, they weren't going to be ready for anything that was going to happen after that. Like
exactly. For it, I mean, I don't know how this is going to sound, but it was kind of, to me, visually, it was like a precursor to what was. And then the long shot that you're talking about, to me, was that breathing point where you get to finally, to me, take a breath and be like, okay, wait a minute, now I can move, I can breathe.
And again, it felt real to me, to what the characters were going through, because that's what they were going through. They didn't get them to breathe. I mean, they got a couple little rooms, but other than that, it's not like they could step out into the open and take a break. Like, you're stuck in there with us, so either come for the ride or don't. But I feel like it worked as far as making that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it felt earned. It was just like, oh, thank you. We have time to actually move our shoulders around a little bit.
Exactly.
So you guys are a couple.
Yes.
And you were a couple when you worked on this. Did that help and or hurt at all when you were shooting?
Well, I'll let you answer that. I mean, I am pretty tough on my actors, so.
I think what really helped is that we had worked together before we were a couple on his first film. So I kind of knew his directing style already and how we worked together. So I just found that I really just had to separate, like, when we're on set, he's the director, I'm an actor. Our relationship and what happens after we're off set has nothing to do with what's going on here. And when I put it in that context, then I would just listen to him like I would if we weren't dating. And I don't think it really hindered anything. I know as an actor, I respond well when he's really hard on me. If I'm not doing something he needs, he can jump on me, and it really helps me to force or get the performance that I need. So I was able to separate, knowing him jumping on me on set is not him upset with me in our life. It's just work.
I would say we're lucky in the aspect of working in post-production, because when you're filming, there's an adrenaline going on that everybody is getting to do something that they love to do. Where I thought it might be tough is in post-production, because post-production is a grind. You know, it's hours and hours of leveling sound, you know, and going through and watching the whole movie for the 3,000th time, making sure nothing goes over a certain level. But we have I mean, how we started dating is we actually used to give advice to each other and help set each other up. We were just friends. Is that we're really weird in that we get along very well, and we don't do anything else but movies. We watch movies, we talk about movies. If somebody said go on vacation, we'd be like, we'd rather go to the theater for the weekend.
All the movies that we haven't had time to watch.
And like when people come to visit us, we're like, oh, do you want to see the town? Instead, let's go see a movie. And so we found that nobody likes to do the things that we do, and so we actually get along and very well.
I think it helped that we were both equally passionate about this project and how we felt it needed to be up to par with our expectations. So we were willing to work on it, and it didn't really, I mean, yeah, you get tired, but we both had a goal, and we were going to meet that goal. So.
But as far as does it help or hinder, I think it helped personally, because she's really good at stuff I'm not, and vice versa. She's really good at sound and music, and I'm really good at that. And now I don't want this to come off as like, hey, I'm the greatest editor in the world. But what I mean by it is I'm really good. That's all subjective to an audience. But for us, technically, I'm good at the editing, the color correction. She's really good at the sound and all that. So it was good. We worked as a good team.
Yeah. I mean, I guess was there ever a moment that maybe you either pulled something back or stepped over the line a bit because you knew it was your girlfriend or your boyfriend that you were working with? Like if you knew.
No, I'm really an ass when it comes to that.
He is, but I mean, for me personally, I did it a little bit in the very beginning of filming, And it wasn't as me as an actor, but I was also a producer on the movie. And so I would start telling an actor something to do, and he squashed that immediately. But it wasn't me trying to take his job. It was me going, I want this project to be great. Go over there and get in your spot you're supposed to be in. But that's not his job. So he just had to be like, what are you doing? Stop it. You're just focused on being Tank. And so from that point, I was fine, and I just let him handle everything.
Because I feel that one of the jobs as a director is realizing that everybody, including the crew, everybody has different things that motivate them, and everybody responds differently. Some people, I had an actor that if he had the script in front of him, he gave the worst performance in the world. But if he didn't know what scene was coming up and I never showed him a script and I just gave him the lines 10 minutes beforehand, it was great. Whereas she needs the script as long as possible. And so you find some people need to be coddled a little bit. Some people need constant positive reinforcement.
And see, he is great at that. I'm terrible at that. I'm just like, do your job, man. What are you doing? And I just jump on people. So I have to watch, that's why I'm not a director. Like, I could not be a director.
I think it was more uncomfortable for other people on set at times. I think they were nervous, but I think after day one, I jumped right in the middle of her and to get her pumped up for a scene. And then everybody was like, oh, okay, so she's not
safe from the rat, so neither
right,
are we.
so all of us, and then that worked out well.
Yeah.
Well, let me piggyback what Nicole said there for a second. Let's say it was later on, and you're down in one of the tighter tunnels, and maybe something's screwing up. Like you said, a battery goes dead. You gotta walk back out and get it back in. It takes an hour. Did you ever, as an actress, stuck like I don't know what just stuck?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever get the fucking shot and come on, let's go? Like did it ever get?
There was multiple times. The two worst tunnels for me were the dirt tunnel because of how long we spent in there. We filmed in there for like a week and a half. And we were in there 8-9 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And plus the dirt in those tunnels was very rough. So it was scratching and bruising. And so it was just very difficult circumstance. And definitely towards the end of a 9-hour day of being in that and breathing in the dust and the dirt and screaming and plus that scene in there was very tense and emotional for the character anyway. I was exhausted and cranky, and of course, so yeah, there was times when I was like, I'm ready to get the hell out of this tunnel. And then the other one was the really tiny metal tunnel, the last tiny metal tunnel. It was so tight, and I actually did get stuck several times. And he thought that I was just I don't know what you thought, if I was just taking my time. I don't know.
I didn't care.
But he was like, what are you doing? Get down. I'm like, I'm stuck, you jerk. But it was, again, I think it all worked towards the performance, to be honest, because it was actually happening to me. So I didn't have to imagine anything or put myself mentally in a state because I was in it.
And there are times that I would pretend the battery went dead just to get her more frustrated.
He loves to purposely torture me. So.
To get the performance. And so I never take anything personal when she would have those outbursts. And look, I know I'm tough on them, but I think acting is I can't act, so I find it one of the most fascinating jobs in the world. I love being around actors, but I also feel like whatever I can do to help them, whether they walk away and hate me or not, if they turn out one of their better performances, they're always going to thank me down the road. And so if that means that she needs to scream and cuss and get some emotion out on me as the director, I don't care. That doesn't bother me at all. Are we going to get the shot, and is it a really good performance? And so I am really, really proud of the performance, because one thing I told her was, look, this movie, the camera's going to be right on you. I mean, it's going to be inches from your face. If you're not real in this, it's going to come off as a phony performance. You've got to nail this performance. And I feel like she did a wonderful job. Like, people that critique the movie and whatever they never come out and say that she did a bad acting job. In fact, there are people that hate me in the movie because I put it all in a tunnel and didn't answer all the questions. But they always go, but Nicole did a great performance, you know, claps to her. And so that makes me very proud.
Was there a conscious decision made over wardrobe?
There's an interesting story about that, because in the beginning I got hell for that. But here's the truth. In the movie, she didn't take her pants off. That was the actor's decision, because in the script I had that the hands got ripped up, because when we were in there testing, I got all these blisters on my fingers. I was like, look, if you guys were in here, that would happen. And so I was like, I actually told this, the scientist was going to use his shirt and rip it up. And she went, you can tell the rest of it.
I basically went, no, Tank wouldn't allow him to do that. Tank would just give an article of clothing to be used as rags, and it wouldn't be a big deal to her at all to be in her shorts, because in training and boot camp and all that, they train men and women together in their underwear on beaches and shit. That it's not a big thing. So to her, she wouldn't have even thought twice about going, here's a rag, let me take care of this shit over here and just move on about her day. So I felt as the character that that's something that she just would have done and not thought about it. And it really, honestly, I didn't even think about getting any sort of backlash about her being in the shorts, because I was just like, she's a soldier. I don't know. Just to me, it seemed like a no-brainer. Like,
you said backlash. What type of backlash did you receive?
Well, and I'm not going to mention who they are, but they're a horror site run by two women, and they had never even seen the movie, but they were furious that they kept saying, oh, we heard that she's in boy shorts. And I was like, look, why don't you watch? I was like, if anything, you as women, you may not like the movie, but you should at least give it a chance, because it's a film that has the whole 2/3 of the movie is just women. I was like, one of the reasons that I couldn't get producers in Hollywood to finance it is they said, you cannot make a film with just a woman. They were like, and they used Terminator. They were like, you had Michael Biehn with her, and they used Alien. They said, look, Ripley had Hicks and Dallas. And they were like, you cannot. And I said, again, same thing. They told me I couldn't do it. So I was like, but why can't I do it? And so it was really upsetting to me that I had these two women that on this horror site wouldn't even watch it and then make a decision because they saw the poster and they were like, okay, well, if she's in boy shorts, then we know that this is a bullshit thing and she probably has sex and all this kind of stuff and is nude. And I said, no. In fact, I fought that. The sales agency wanted me to have her nude at parts. They wanted a sex scene, and I refused to do that because I was like, that's not what this film is about.
How would there be a sex scene in that movie? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, believe me. You should have heard some of the studio's pitch for the sequel with the alien and the girl. Like, I was like, you guys are on crack. But
there's literally no time for sex in that movie. No room for sex, let alone. What am I talking about?
So, it was interesting. And then luckily, it was released in Japan first. And the women in Japan went nuts. Like, we started getting all this artwork every single day on Twitter. We still get letters from women in Japan who are like, thank you, Tank is who I want to be, blah, 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 and please tell me you're making the sequel and all this. And then once we showed like 2,000 letters from women in Japan, and we had all this artwork that people were sending us of girls drawing her, we took that to the U.S. distributor, and then all of a sudden everything started rolling, and we got a deal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there, a friend of mine reminded me about this, is there any sort of purpose to like the similarities of Tank Girl?
No, and it's funny how that happened, but no, absolutely. I actually saw Tank Girl in the theater when it came out a long time ago. Mm-hmm. No, actually, Tank we used to go to a gym in California, and there was a bodybuilder that worked out there, this woman who was literally, we nicknamed her Tank. I mean, she was just awesome. She would go there and squat 400 and some odd pounds, but she still.
But she was like my size, but buff, and like she'd just walk in like this machine. She was like a tank. Walk in and like knock out 15 pull-ups, and I was like, Tank, like who is this? So the name actually
came from that. But the minute somebody brought that up when it first came out in one of the interviews, they were like, there's a hint of Ripley, there's a hint of Tank Girl, and I was like, Tank Girl.
I think
oh my
it's
God.
mostly really the name and the hair. I mean,
right.
So that and in Tank Girl, there's something where she has something where it's smaller and smaller and smaller.
Oh, that she gets put down that like tube.
Yeah. So I thought it was like a bit of a homage of sorts.
Yeah, it totally wasn't, but I completely can see how. Other people have said that same.
Or it was some subconscious thing, that like I said, I have no problem saying, I see a lot of times people going, oh, where there's an aspect of Aliens, there's an aspect of The Great Escape, there's an aspect, and I go, yeah, of course, I love those films, and there's. I even put in the classic Steven Spielberg shot where she turns back and the camera rolls up onto her face, that classic scene. So I'm like, of course I'm throwing in homages to things that I love. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Who are some of your influences or anything that you've used for influences for this?
Well, yeah, it's so passé to say, but I was empowered by what Rodriguez did and his journey and the book Rebel Without a Cause. That gave me the belief that you didn't have to do it the way Hollywood does it, makes film. You can do it your own way. Just go out there and do it. But as far as people that I love, there's just so many, but Paul Thomas Anderson, Steven Spielberg, Ridley Scott's one of my absolute all-time favorites. John Carpenter. I love like the original Assault on Precinct 13. I do always like the underdog filmmakers that start off with nothing and then they just stick to I'm not really much into commercial, like who was it, Nick G? I thought he did great with the first Charlie's Angels and all that, but I'm more like that Ridley Scott's was in the commercial world and all that and worked his way and then finally got that break. And I loved Rodriguez's journey. So
sure.
And he actually had me study 4 or 5 actors leading up to playing Tank. So obviously Ripley, Sarah Connor, the Demi Moore's character from G.I. Jane, and then High Tension, and Keira Knightley from Domino. So those. For me personally, I really drew strength from like Ripley and Sarah Connor the most, just because they're some of the most iconic badass women in film of all time. And I really loved, particularly Ripley, how she was tough, but she was still a woman and she still was vulnerable and scared. And she wasn't like Rambo coming on screen, guns blazing, not afraid of anything. Like she was a human. So I really drew a lot from watching her performance for Tank, for sure.
I think that was probably one of our longest conversations that lasted probably a couple of months before we started filming and making the movie, which is I said I want to make a film to where you're not Rambo, that you are human and you do get scared. And I see a lot of time with this tidal wave of women empowerment, which I think is great, and they're getting better, tougher roles and all that. But I said, I don't want you to forget the fact that you are a woman. Like I don't want you to play a man. I want you to play a woman in this situation. Yeah, you're a strong, mentally tough woman, but you have physical limitations. There are things, that scare you. But I want you to be mentally tough. And I think
and it was a learning curve. When rehearsing and getting ready for the role and stuff, I'd kind of say some lines to him and he'd be like, okay, why are you saying it like that? No one really talks like that. Like, it'd be like, get in the tunnel or something like overly tough sounding. He was like, you wouldn't say it like that. You're scared right now. How would you really say it? So it was definitely massaging the situation. But yeah.
Nicole, what was it like shooting? Did you have any sort of like, I wouldn't call it a mental breakdown, but whatever, like, maybe maybe you're getting ready for a day and you're preparing for a larger tunnel, and now it's actually something smaller. Knowing that you're physically strained, does it mess with your psyche at all?
Before you answer that,
Okay.
one thing you should know is these tunnels, because they were real, like there were scorpions in there, there were spiders in those tunnels. Like these were, and we're in Oklahoma, we get a lot of scorpions. They're about 2 inches, but they still sting.
Oh.
So he had gone through all that, and then you can answer the question, because
In the beginning of the shoot, I was very energetic and gung-ho and excited, so it didn't seem taxing. Like the bigger tunnels, I was just excited every day to get in there and be tank and have fun. Once we got to the dirt tunnel and the really small tunnel and then the under the floor, those 3 specific scenes were probably my hardest days on set. Not so hard that I didn't want to show up, but just mentally knowing, okay, you're going to be in this dirt tunnel with scorpions and spiders and dust and everything for 8 to 9 hours today. You're going to be getting scratched and bruised and crawling back and forth. And so it was definitely mentally draining and taxing, but I think, again, that all became part of the performance and what Tank was going through. In reality, that's really what was happening. So I'm kind of grateful in a way. If I had been like in there for an hour and then off at some day spa getting my nails done and then having to go back, I think it would have made it more difficult to really put myself in the situation.
because she actually slept in those tunnels at times on her own decision.
Not
to
the
help her with
dirt, but the bigger
Yeah.
tunnels, I would sleep in there just to keep myself in the mode of like, this is your home right now, you know? But,
Acclimated to it, sure.
yeah.
The monster, is there any sort of homage to Alien with
Yeah,
that
of
monster?
I mean, absolutely. And you know, I wanted to change it. I didn't feel like this movie. You know, there's a couple of rules that movies have, and I decided not to go with them. I decided to change them. And like one of the rules of a movie is you always have to give a backstory to the character to get people to feel for that character.
Mm-hmm.
And we were driving home one day and we passed a car wreck, and you could tell that the people did not survive that wreck, and we felt horrible for them. Now, we didn't know anything about them. I didn't know what their religion was. I didn't know what type of people they were in life, but I still felt really bad. And so I was talking to Nicole, and I was like, you know what? I hate all these boring backstories we have in the script. I was like, if I feel for those people, why would people not connect with this woman as they're going along this journey? It doesn't matter if your father was a drunk or whatever. It doesn't matter. I was like, will an audience still connect with you without knowing all a backstory of, you know, the classic scene where I see that your mother died New Year's Eve while driving home or something or whatever. And I got a lot of flack for that in the script when I took all that out. They said no, they're not going to care about her, and I said I don't think that's true. I think by the end of this journey, I think any person who goes that journey with her would be like, I hope the hell this girl makes it. You know, I don't know a thing about her, but I want to see her make it. And so I went into it with that. But yeah, of course. I mean, I did another thing that went against it, which was I didn't give a backstory or why the alien was chasing them, or I didn't give much information about the monster at all. But I always find that more scary. I don't want to know that the monster's there for a certain reason. Now, in the sequel, I do go way more in depth on what the monster is, how it differentiates a lot from the creature in the Alien series. I mean, we just didn't have a budget to show how this is completely different, you know, because I just felt like it would look cheap and it wouldn't work. And that was a budget decision. So I had to massage the budget I had with the reality of we're not going to be able to show much of this creature. So I do understand at times when people see it, if they're saying, oh, well, it's the creature from Aliens. I'm like, well, no, it's not. I mean, it's clearly not. It's not doing the same thing. It doesn't have the same killing, doesn't have acid for blood, and yada, yada, yada. But sure, I can see the similarities. And like I said, Alien is my favorite movie of all time, so I'm sure that had a lot of influence on me. I love Geiger.
Yeah, even subconsciously, sure.
Yeah.
What equipment did you use to shoot with?
All I had was a Canon 5D Mark II, and for the sound, I had a $110 Zoom sound recorder.
Oh, crap! That's exactly what I have. That's hysterical.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we had. We had no boom mics. We had no dollies. We had nothing. That's all we had.
It's so impressive.
Yeah. Now, I will back that up and say that we specifically, now we did spend a lot of time looking for cameras because I knew that we were going to, the Canon, the 5Ds, what made them great is that they handle low light very well. And so I knew I had to find a camera that worked in low lighting. And I don't know if you know who Philip Bloom is, but anyway, he kind of started the 5D movement, and he's kind of like the guru of 5Ds. Well, I actually wrote him, and then I looked over all the stuff that he's written about the 5D and the tests that he did. And then once I got my hand on the camera and we shot at nighttime, I was like, this is the camera. This will do everything we needed to do in those dark situations.
Yeah, well, it came out incredible. It really did.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It's kind of funny because at the time when we made this film, everybody was saying, you can't make a feature film with the 5D Mark II. They were like, it's going to look crap on a big screen. And it didn't. We tested it. We went to AMC. They let us sneak in footage and look at it on the big screen. And we've since it's had a small theatrical run. Looked beautiful on the big screen. So, I tend to find that people in the crew side of filmmaking, they get a little snobbish about equipment. And they want to say you can't do this and you can't do this. And I always tell indie filmmakers, ignore all that and go and you shoot it yourself. And if it looks good, did you use Final Cut or did you use Avid? Not an audience. Nobody in the audience is ever going to know. Only editors.
Even editors wouldn't necessarily know watching a movie what it was edited on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I always tell, indie filmmakers, just ignore that. Listen to the important stuff, then strip it away and go out there and test it. And if it works, it works.
Yeah, and it's not like you did anything incredibly overbearing. I mean, it was a lot of dark shots. It was same location, so it's not like you really tried to reinvent the wheel with it. It
exactly.
For what you were doing, it came out perfect. I mean, that's an honest opinion. What else do you need to shoot something like that?
Right. Well, also at the end, when that was a 12-inch tunnel there at the end that she was in, that metal one. And so not many cameras are going to fit in.
Right,
in that.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And so, we had to get 3 2x4s, like 10 foot long, and screw them together and put the camera on the end of it and just, make our own little thing to get it down in there in front of her and slowly bring it out as she was crawling towards it. So, you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do.
It's incredible. Nicole, you recorded the song for the movie, correct?
Yeah. I actually wrote and recorded that. I did 3 songs. Only one is in the movie, but I had a lot of fun doing that. He gave me the opportunity because I really love doing music, but my focus is acting, so I don't put a lot of energy into creating music. And he was needing, a score for the end song, and I was like, give me a shot at it. I think I could come up with something he'd really like. And I had nothing to show for myself. I'd done like one song 100 years ago on some crappy little, might as well have been a Casio. Like, it was a horrible song. And so he took a shot and let me do it. And I told him, I was like, look, if you don't like it, I'm not going to be offended. You don't have to use it. But
I loved it.
We came up, he was in the studio. I remember it was like, I don't know, the first or second day after we had gotten sort of the rough draft of it down. I brought him in and I was super nervous, and he just really liked it. So
So you wrote it based on the it was inspired from the movie, this song.
Yeah, I definitely wrote it sort of as Tank. Like, I tried to put myself in her mindset and what she'd be feeling and thinking about the situation, and sort of write it like angrily as Tank would be angry. So
And as far as the sound design is concerned, did you guys what steps did you take? I mean, knowing the budget was low, how exactly did you overcome any of that stuff when you're doing all the sound design work?
A lot of creativity, because especially coming up with like the creature, it was just a lot of trial and error on my part. It was very much a collaboration as far as sound. But
Yeah.
I remember I would sit for hours and go through different sounds of like, I wonder what an owl screeching sounds like if it's slowed down by half and backward. And I would just try it. And it was just a lot of coming up with creative ways to make it sound cool and unique.
I think one thing we did consciously do is we both made an agreement that let's try not to over soundtrack. You know, one of the first sales agents was like, well, we need to get a rock track going over the whole thing and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I want to keep this stripped down and bare, kind of like the movie is. You know, there would be no sound going on here. One of the best sounds was an organic. When you're in those tunnels, there's this weird wind sound, even when there's wind not going on. It's just a sound that happens in a long tube. And I loved that. And I always kept saying, we always kept falling back on, is this really what you would be hearing? You know, and so we really pushed in not having a lot of like a rock soundtrack going on over the whole movie.
Yeah, we wanted the sound to feel organic to what was happening, kind of like the rest of the movie. It was a very, like, it had a sound of its own. It wasn't music. It wasn't necessarily the creature all the time. It was just this living, it was its own character, I feel.
Oh, absolutely. And I make no mistake. To me, the sound was more intricate than even filming the movie, because it literally took us 6 months.
Yeah.
And you're working it in 30-second spot. You might work all day long on a 30-second spot to get the background sound, to get the voice levels, then to get, an echo sound, and then you get it, and then you're on to the next 30 seconds. So, in a week you might have gotten a minute of film done, and you're like, oh my God, we're going to be here for years, And so I would say that was the most tedious.
And on top of it, since we'd never done sound, we didn't have like a library of sound to use. We had what was in Final Cut, but I went, if we just use Final Cut sounds, we're going to sound like every other low budget indie that just throws in Final Cut sounds. So I was like, we had to do a lot of
we ran around
researching
with
and recording stuff and pulling stuff online, and it was just
yeah.
I feel the next time around we'll have a lot more to pull from, so it won't take as long. Hopefully.
Yeah. It's it was a learning process. But we do always fall back. Another rule that we have for ourselves is, if it's going to take another month to get it right, then we'll take another month and put that work in, instead of just going, it's good enough, let's throw it out there. I mean, now eventually you do have to have a stopping point. I mean, I watched the film as a director, and I can rip that movie apart, minute by minute. But I think one of our good qualities is we will sacrifice time, to give it another shot, instead of just going, well, it'll work. We very rarely ever do that. So.
It's a benefit of being on your own dime too.
It is. It is. You're right. Absolutely right.
You made an allusion to it before. Nicole, what is your opinion on this sort of feminist movement lately, with needing to get strong female characters in film? Meanwhile, you're someone who literally is the epitome of a strong female character in this film, and coming up on another one. How do you feel as an actress, as you know, as a female, both?
I really think it's amazing and it's important, because I think there needs to be not just strong women necessarily, but just women of all types, like strong, weak, complicated, just anything. But just to have us represented in ways that are realistic in film, to be an example for younger generations of like, you know, it's okay to be this, or, you know, just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't do this. And I think film does have an impact in that way. I know we're not curing cancer or something, but I do think film has an impact on society and it can change things. And I think that having women role models in films for young women is really important. And like, it was a huge reason why I was so honored to be able to play Tank, because I looked up to women in film like Ripley, like Sarah Connor growing up, and I felt like I wish there was more. I was like, where can I find more of these type of women? And so to be able to play someone like Tank and to get the fan mail and messages that I've gotten from other women saying how much Tank's inspired them and they want to be strong like her, and it encouraged them to go after something that they were scared to go after. It's just a huge honor and like very humbling. And I personally just love seeing strong women in films. I loved Furiosa, I loved Ray, and I love that there's all these different roles happening now that women can grasp and sink their teeth into as actors, and it's not just the girlfriend or the snotty wife or whatever. Like it's, I think it's really great and it's important.
There's a stunt woman. Her name is Maya Aro, and she said something I thought was really good. She said that if women see other women doing something, they mentally begin to believe that that's a possibility.
Right.
And so I think, I know I was proud. My mom is one of 3 sisters. I think that's why I kind of wrote this film, and watching them lose opportunities based on the fact that they are just a woman, because it was always a little frustrating for me, because I saw that my mom could do the job that my dad was doing, but she would not be allowed to do that job. And so I always thought, this would be a great opportunity to try and show that, and I thought
right.
I thought Maya did that.
Yeah, and I think Tank
perfectly.
makes that statement that she's not asking to be better than her male teammates. She's asking to be equal and to be included as a teammate, and she's just as capable of being on that team and being as strong as they are, and turned out, you know, being the one to survive as any male teammate.
Yeah,
and I think that was kind of I loved that point of like.
In theory, survive in theory.
Right.
Take it easy with the spoilers. I guess I have a 2-parter here. With that being said, did you put any sort of pressure on yourself as sort of somebody that could be, like you said, you've had people that have gotten in touch with you saying that, you know, that Tank actually, you know, motivates them and if they get behind her. Did you, getting into this, did you have any sort of pressure that you put on yourself or anything like that? And also to kind of counter that, if something had happened where you would have to film a sex scene, do you think that would take away from the strength of the character?
Okay, well, to answer the first part, I felt immense pressure to do the character justice. I felt that the character that was written on page was already everything I would have wanted to see in a tough female character. So my pressure wasn't so much going, can I make this character something I wish she was? It was more like, I have to do this character justice and do what is written on this page and bring it to life the perfect way. Otherwise, I won't have done my job. So I did feel pressure, but it wasn't so much on set going, I hope other women like her. It was going, I better be genuine and real and be Tank, and then that will be enough. So that was definitely a worry coming on set, but I think after the first day of him jumping on me to get into character, I just went, just let it go and just, be this character and you'll be fine. So it was a fun journey once I let that kind of go. And then as far as the sex scene, I don't think that would take away from her toughness at all. I think women love sex just as much as men. I think it's bullshit to say they don't. I think for some reason society has made it to where if you're a woman who loves sex, you're a slut or whatever. But I think if Tank, especially Tank, if she was going to have sex with someone, it would be completely on her terms. And she would be the one wanting it. And so I don't think it would make her less tough or less of a strong person. I think it would just make her a woman and a human, basically. I mean, I think there's ways in film that they show sex scenes that can degrade women, but I don't think that would be the case with Tank.
Well, and I think to follow up on that, where it did become a problem is where I felt the pressure to make sure that the fans that have fallen in love with Tank, that I protect her, was when the studios stepped in and flew us to LA and was offering us a lot of money, what we had to give up and what they were going to do. And when we found out what they were going to do, I was like, what are you talking about? Now you're making a film called Barbed Wire. Like, what are you talking about? They were like, she's going to be walking around during the day in those shorts. And I'm like, why would she go to an office meeting in those shorts? I was like, what? No. And then they were saying, well, maybe she could have like this sexual fantasy with one of the aliens. And I was like, what? Why would that happen? And so I
think there's a difference between a woman being a empowered, strong sexual being and being sexualized. I think that's where the line is. It's like, are we doing strippers versus zombies, or are we doing a movie about a strong woman who's a well-rounded person that all those things are in her life? You know?
Yeah, I would say that the pressure that I have felt is really the fans that supported us, and this is going to come off as cheesy and paper thin, but it is absolutely the truth. We would not be sitting here had it not been for the fans and the horror bloggers online, because we had no money for PR, we had no film festivals backing us, and it was the fans online that created this movement, and they started posting about us every day. When we came out in the UK, we were the #1 trending topic in all of Twitter in the UK. The weekend that the Avengers came out, and we were trending higher than they were. And that's when Hollywood studios started calling us. And really it was the women talking to Nicole and them sharing pictures and talking about the film. And then it got shown on TV in the UK. And that was just this huge surge.
The TV release was actually one of my most favorite post-film memories, because it was the first time I got to basically live chat the movie with people. So I was getting to watch them experience it and talk to me as it was happening. And that was really cool.
Yeah,
just watching them be like, oh my God, it's gonna, what are you doing? Oh shit. Like, it was a lot of fun.
But seeing these people, like, look, I mean, this is a pair of tennis shoes that, like, these people in the UK,
wow.
And I go, these fans, I mean, I know it sounds so damn stupid, but when we started getting money offers, I just went, we've spent 3 years and we've got this, 200,000 or 300,000 worldwide, which isn't a lot, but fans that support us and help us, like when we needed to get the Blu-ray out, they really helped us, even financially. They were like, look, we'll pre-buy it and help you get it out there. And I was like, there's no way we can put out a sequel and have her hopping around some office in hot pants and then having I was like, we cannot do that. So I would say I felt the pressure at that point.
Can I just ask you, as a personal, I don't know, vendetta, you don't have to answer this because it's kind of a damning question, but is one of the major studios you spoke to, is it Sony by any chance?
Yes.
Of course. They're fucking idiots.
We got
a bunch of idiots.
We got Sony, which was a $13 million offer. Now, when I say that to people and people say to us, wow, you're crazy, understand that's when we learned about the movie business. We asked for a budget of $300,000 to do the sequel. That included our fee. That was us giving them the sequel on a DCP, color-corrected, finished, and not owing us another dime. They bumped the budget up to $13 million, and we realized that 6 of the producers were getting $1.5 million up front. That was included in that budget. So even if the film tanked, it doesn't matter. They get their money. And
Tanked.
then,
But
not only that, they get final cut. They get approval of the story. They can fire me if they want to. Like
wow.
We didn't turn down 13 million. We turned down 300,000.
right.
Our budget stayed the same.
Our budget stayed the same, but it was a legitimate on paper $13 million offer that we had to say no to. And
Did they offer you points or anything?
no, are you kidding? No.
Wow.
No. We here's what we got. We got told you'll be in the game, and it doesn't matter if the sequel does well or not. Once you direct a Hollywood film, you'll have dozens of offers come in, and you can pick and choose, and then you can start doing what you want to do.
Yeah, it's like they did a movie, and I won't say which because I don't want to put that out
It's
there.
the
But
one
they
that-
did a movie that got one of like the worst ratings I've ever seen on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it was like 8%.
Listen, you don't have to tell me about Sony. Sony sucks.
But we brought this movie up to them, and we were like, "Well, what about this movie that you did?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, isn't that funny? It got such bad rating. We don't care. We made money. We're actually going to do the sequel." And we were like, "They're like, we don't care if it's good as long as it makes money back."
Yeah, Sony's very much in the news right now because they're getting ready to pump out Ghostbusters, and people don't want it, and they're like, "We don't care."
Yeah, and at the same time, look, like I said, we met with the guy, some of the guys from Scott Free. We met with 3 or 4 other studios, and at least I can honestly say there are 65% of the studios that were very, very nice, very polite, and very upfront. They were like, "Look, we'll put this much money in it, but we get to pick out the actors, we get to do the story and all that. And if you can't live with that, that's fine." And then we met probably what has put us on this journey, which was one of the most honest producers, and said, "Listen, we'll give you $3 million. You're not going to have final edit. You're going to have this. You're going to have an editor. You're going to have this and this and this. We got a story." They said, "Or go make the movie and then we'll pay you $1 million for it when it's done."
I was just going to ask, can you still go out and sell the final product?
Absolutely. So that's when, now the asshole producers, they said to us, because once we heard that, when we were talking to them, I said to them, "Well, listen, will you buy it if it's done?" And they said, "You can't raise $300,000. They're like, "We've done the research on you. You don't waste your time. You're never going to raise that amount of money. Go with us." So we walked out of there, and again, we said, "All right, tell us we can't do it." And so we were like, "We'll take 1.5 years off, and what we do is we buy $15,000 homes. We spend four months fixing them up, selling them, put the money in the account, do it again. It's hard labor work, but we're going to get to make the film we want to make." And
good for you.
And we have, I would say, out of the 8 studios that we saw, there's probably 3 really concrete people that would seriously buy it if they like it, if we give them a good product. And then the others are possibilities. And then there's 2 or 3 that will never talk to us again because we turned down their offer. So that's where we're at.
Has Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, any of them gotten in touch with you or anything?
We got in contact with, some of them got in contact with us. The problem is, again, we were learning. Since we signed with a U.S. distributor, it was illegal for us to talk to them. So we have to wait till that contract runs out, which is in another 6 months, and then we're allowed to, she and I, as individuals, can go and speak to them about it. Because we kept all the rights to the sequel, to the characters and all that. We only gave them rights to the movie. But we're waiting because in 6 months, even those rights revert back to us, and then we'll own the whole franchise again, and then we're able to talk to, surprisingly, Hulu outbid Netflix for the rights. And so Hulu has it on their Hulu Plus or whatever. And but Netflix is the one who wanted to talk to us, but we weren't allowed to.
That's incredible. I really wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
As far as the sequel, what can you tell me, anybody?
Well, let's see. I can say that it's more of a traditional movie in the fact that I do give backstories on certain people. We learn more about Tank. We learn about the situation. We learn about what was happening on Earth One and where they were on that planet, why the tunnel system is there. So there's that aspect of it. I'll never be a true filmmaker in the I give all the answers. I never like giving all the answers. So I'm sure it will still frustrate some people because I always like to give open-ended situations. But you know, the set is as big as a football field. We're using thousands of live tarantulas in the sequel. It's got water, it's got fire. We're actually going to have to hire a stunt company from Canada that's coming down to work on it because it gets a little more, you know, it's just a much larger set. The one thing that we are doing is we're going to have a 24-hour, 7 days a week live video of the set being built. We have to build a whole ship. And so we're going to give a live feed tour of inside this ship before we start filming.
That's awesome.
And we have a great idea of what we want to do to put the movie out there once it's done for the first 1,000 people, like super fans. We know that we're not going to give it away too much, but we know there's 1,000 caves in the U.S. that you can rent and have overnight events in. So we were like, wow, this would be great if we had like 20 showings of the movie underground in a tunnel with like 50 fans, and they get to see it even before film festivals. So we're gearing up to have a lot of fun with it. We're working with a guy named Mark Miller from Nicole News on the graphic novel. We're almost finished with the script with that, and the artwork will start on that in about 45 days. And so, you know, we're excited, but being no budget independent, you know, it's money. While I don't think money alone can make a better movie, what money does buy you is time. You know, if you don't have money, it just takes time to do these things.
Sounds like money buys you producers. That sounds like all money does.
and the good thing about producers, I have to be fair here. The good thing about good producers are they have contacts. You know, they can like they were wanting to put Dakota Fanning in the sequel. Okay, well, they can call her up and they can say, this is a small film, blah, 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 and you need to cut your budget a bit. I can't call her up and say that. You know,
you'd get her agent, and her agent would hang up on you.
Right. So a good producer has contacts, and they know how to work the studios and protect the director and make sure that the director's vision gets through. And, you know, but you don't find a lot of really good producers for independent films. You just, you know,
Nicole, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say most of them get paid and move on.
Yeah. Nicole, what do you think of when you hear? Well, first of all, with the sequel, Fire, Water, and mine, Tarantulas. What do you think of when you hear all that stuff, and how does it settle in your stomach knowing that that's on the horizon?
Fire, great. I'll put on a fire suit. You can light me on fire. I'm fine with that. Water, cool. I can do that. I'll get in there and nearly drown. I don't care. Spiders of any kind, I do not do well, especially the kind that are hairy with fangs and big. I can't.
Well, they are fangless.
I don't care. Okay, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So that is something that I will be working with a stunt person on in some capacity. I could probably handle like one. I can't even think about it. I could probably handle one, but like a lot crawling, I would probably have a panic attack or something.
How does it make you feel hearing these major studios, you know, offer or suggest larger name actresses? I would assume
if I had $30 million to dump into something, I would probably want names in it too to guarantee my money back. They weren't talking about replacing me. They were just talking about in addition to. So that felt kind of good that they felt that I could stand up next to actors of that caliber and that level. It wasn't, you know, I guess, I didn't feel like they were trying to replace me. Maybe if I thought they were trying to replace me, I might have been more threatened. But I would love to work with somebody like Dakota Fanning or of that level. So I wouldn't mind.
There's no level. They just got noticed. That's,
Well, yeah.
that's the only there's no levels. They just got lucky.
I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is on his own level. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, Daniel Day-Lewis.
There's some level.
Yeah, Dakota Fanning. I don't know if I would put her on a.
Right.
So the Blu-ray, it just came out, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
go ahead.
I was just going to say it's again, U.S. distributors, when you're independent, they don't fill you in. We actually had a fan write us and tell us they were ordering Blu-ray, and we were like, no, that's a ripoff. Don't buy that. Somebody's put that out there. And so we called our U.S. distributor to tell him somebody is starting. He was like, oh no, yeah, it's out. And we were like, thanks for telling us. So
yeah, it's currently on Amazon. You can buy it. It's just a basic Blu-ray. But we're also doing right now a special where we're doing 20 signed copies with a limited edition cover and limited edition content like the commentary. You'll get my album, you'll get deleted scenes and all that kind of stuff signed. And if you buy one of those, which you can get on our website, crawlordietrilogy.com, you can also get a chance to win one of Tank's props from the movie. So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And those are currently available?
Yes, on our website.
There's some left.
Yeah, I think we sold half.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. crawlordietrilogy.com.
Yes.
Okay, so I will head to the chat. There are a couple of questions. We already asked you about your inspiration. Do you take the internet opinions, Luke from Razor Wire Reviews, do you take the internet opinions such as IMDb rating, for example, to heart? Or do you focus more on face-to-face opinions?
Okay. I'm really, really weird. I went on to IMDb. Everybody told me not to because there were people on there. Like I said, our movie is, there's probably, if you have 10 people, 6 people are going to like it, 4 people are going to hate it. And so I have no problem with people, you know, it's social media. You can't put anything out. I saw somebody ripping Harvey Keitel is the worst actor ever, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. You know, so I don't know why I'm built that way. It doesn't bother me. So I actually went on to IMDb and started talking with the fans that did like it. And I was like, thanks, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they had some questions and all that. And people were, no, my God, don't go on there. And of course, you know, trolls jumped on there and being like, you know, you don't ever make it. And you're like, I don't even argue with them. I'm like, you're welcome to your opinion. That's fine. So opinions, I'm fine with them either way, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's online, it doesn't really bother me. What does bother me is I do find IMDb to be unfair in this regard. It's Hollywood bought, first of all. Our movie, before our movie even came out, had 400 votes on it, and nobody had ever seen it. It was still sitting on my computer. Nobody had ever seen the movie. Yet somehow people were giving it a 1-star or a 5-star or a 2-star. And I'm like, okay, IMDb, get off your ass. I was like, first of all, the movie's not even out. Nobody's seen it. It's not even screened anywhere. So they went and they erased all those. Then I started back at 0. Then we got contacted by a company that said, if you give us some money, we can get your star rating up to an 8. If you don't, we'll keep it down at about a 1.
What?
Yeah. And you can go online right now. And all you got to do is punch into like Google or whatever and put star rating for IMDb. And there's hundreds of sites that will do that. And so it becomes unfair. We don't have enough money to go do that. And to me, here's what I love about Amazon. Amazon puts on if they have verified that they have bought or watched the movie. And then I'm like, that's what IMDb should do. If you've rented the movie or you buy the movie or you've actually seen the movie, then you should be able to give it a star rating or whatever. And that should count for the star rating. Now, if people want to go in there and just say, I think it's a piece of shit movie, I've never seen it, great. But they shouldn't be able to give it a star rating.
Yeah, you should have to answer a question about the movie or something, like a very particular question that if you saw it. Yeah.
Because, ironically, well, in my world, I could care less what somebody rates it. If a blogger gives it 1 out of 10 stars, whatever. If they think it's 5 out of 5, great. I love you. Let's talk about the film. But in Hollywood, there are producers that actually look at that damn rating, and you go, okay, well, we're higher rated than some multi-million-dollar Hollywood films. Yet at the same time, I think we bounce around. At one point, we were a 6, then we were a 3, then we were a 4, and it's just crazy. I just wish somebody as big as Amazon would be able to go. As big as IMDb would do what Amazon did and say, at least you have to be a verified purchaser to be able to give it a rating, and then that's up to the public. Then at that point.
Are you aware of, this might be yours, but I'm being told that a copy of the film is appearing on the right of this stream, a full copy on YouTube. Are you aware of that? Is that yours?
Yeah, no, it's not ours. No, look, we fight it every day. It's like, look, I don't want to seem like the police, internet police here, but one of the things that hurt us as independent is torrent sites. We've been viewed over 4 million times on torrent sites around the world. And I at least contacted the torrent sites and said, listen, can you at least put a link to our website? So I know I can't stop you. I know you're showing the movie for free, but maybe the fans could at least come and sign up for our newsletter, or maybe they'll want a poster or whatever. Yeah, none of them will, There was only one that did it. And we literally got people donating like 50 cents or whatever that had, illegally watched the movie. They go on YouTube. We write YouTube. They tear it down. It's a never-ending story. But yeah, it happens. When we're done, I can look it up and have it taken down, and then somebody else will pop.
Yeah, I feel bad. I'm trying to help promote, and I don't want to help hurt. That's terrible.
No, it's not. It's not supposed to be out on YouTube or anywhere illegal, but it is. I'm sure. That's when it comes down. That's why when the Blu-ray came out, we were so blown away by our fans, because I know these fans have already seen the movie. I know half of our fans have probably seen it for free, especially
some of the people that ordered already have a DVD.
Yeah,
but they went and ordered the Blu-ray anyway just to support us. We have the best fans ever. They're just the best. And they keep us going every day and pushing towards making the sequel. Even on days when we feel like it's taking too long or whatever, they just encourage us and support us however they can. So,
is it available on Redbox, iTunes, or on demand anywhere?
It is on iTunes. I don't think it's on demand anymore. Is it? I know it's on Amazon Prime, Hulu.
It was on Xbox. It was on DirecTV. It was on all that stuff.
It's on Hulu Plus.
It is on Hulu Plus.
We also have it on our website for streaming, rental or streaming. So yeah.
So they can go right to you and rent it from you guys.
Yeah, and then we get all of that versus everything else. I think we get like 5 cents.
But I know there's some people that pay for Amazon Prime or Hulu that they could go watch. We understand.
They could watch it.
But if you're gonna pay to rent it, then for sure we have it streaming and all.
Yeah. All right, guys, you heard it. Go right to the horse's mouth. So back to we have. It looks like 2 or 3 questions, and then we're done.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much, by the way.
No problem.
Nicole, in the tighter scenes, if you needed to sneeze or pee or something, was there some sort of quick release to get out of there when you were shooting?
No, there was no. There was basically, if I had to go to the restroom or something, hold it or crawl out.
Wow.
So
Which that ironically question has come up so much that we're actually incorporating that into the movie on in the sequel.
And it was one of the more challenging things, ironically, because I have the tiniest bladder on the planet, so I always have to pee. Like, I couldn't drink anything the entire morning before we were going to film because I would have to crawl out and just take too long. So yeah.
I'm being told to ask you about the tank action figure.
Oh yeah. I will get the ones that we have.
Yeah, we've got a deal going that.
So these are the ones our effects guy made. We're trying to also get our own made. They won't look like this necessarily, but.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Maybe that's easier. And she came with like a little scene too.
So the tank action figures that are going to be mass produced won't have the background and everything, and will have the real hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, that's one of those things that just takes time because you have to go through the design, you have to find an artist, you have to buy the rights from the artist, then you have to get the manufacturers, and now we're down to we've got it designed, we just have to find the right manufacturer. So it's coming.
Which is challenging.
It's so incredible to hear that, guys. Seriously, a $5,000 film and you have toys like that's.
It is surreal. It is surreal. I sometimes we get taken aback by it, but I think it's because we're still in the fight. It just seems like we still have so far to go. And then at the same time, I have a very close friend who just finished an independent film, and looking at how far he has to go, we went, we're proud, at the same time, we've never once gone over the line that, again, had it not been for social media and the fans, this just absolutely wouldn't be happening. I mean, it's not even a joke. I mean, we had over 600 articles written about us from all over the world, from horror bloggers, Starburst magazine, reviews, good and bad, and people talking about the controversy of a strong female character in boy shorts, and like all of it. Just
to have
10 years ago, there's no way this could have happened.
Yeah.
10 years ago, this would have shown at a theater for a week and it'd be gone. And we are one of the very, very few independent films that got the green light for a Blu-ray, because normally the U.S. distributor won't do a Blu-ray because it costs so much. But enough fans bought the DVD that they just greenlit the Blu-ray. So, yeah, I mean, it's surreal because we don't even have a shower. We live in a garage. Like, we don't have any money. Like, it's surreal that all this is happening, and the U.S. distributor made money and the sales agency made money, but we didn't get into this to be rich. It would be nice to be able to buy a shower eventually at some point.
We do take showers, just not here.
Yeah.
At the gym.
Yeah, we go to the gym to take showers. But, we feel like we're living in a lottery dream right now. It's just crazy. People are discovering it brand new every week. And it just blows our mind. And it's because they're like, well, just like Roger brought it to your attention. I mean, yeah. That's what turned us into, I'll put this in quotes, a quote cult hit or an underground hit, is that people just keep telling somebody else, and they're like, you got to check it out. And it just keeps moving, and you can't buy that.
Literally, unfortunately, I didn't pay for it. I must admit, I was sent a copy, and
no, that's fine, because you're exposing us to new people.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in on that Blu-ray. You should get a steelbook. You want to talk about collectors? That's the next step for you guys.
The steelbook.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Blu-rays. The big thing with collectors is there's a regular Blu-ray in the plastic case, but there's this thing lately that's been this craze where it's like a metal case, and it's
It's funny that you brought that up, because Mark Miller from Ain't It Cool News, he's doing the graphic novel, and he said, look, I want to do 20 of the graphic novels, but we're going to shrink them down to the size of a metal case for a Blu-ray, and we'll put the Blu-ray in it, the graphic novel, we'll have you sign it, we'll have that cool metal case. I was like, what are you talking about, metal case? And then he said, have you been out of your garage? Have you been out of the studio? And then we did, and there's just awesome stuff.
My audience, I know my audience. Literally, I just got a comment. I don't know your movie. I've never seen the movie, but I'll buy the Steelbook. Is literally a comment we just received.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a big thing in the collectors for Blu-ray. It's so strange.
For sure.
So with the sequel, does it hinder success or failure? Are you going to make the third one regardless of?
Oh, regardless, I'll finish the trilogy. Yeah, because I
don't know that we'll film it directly after, though. I think we haven't decided.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of type of films I want to make, but I've always wanted to do this I've always wanted to tell this story, and I go, if I passed away in a car accident and I didn't get to finish this trilogy, I would have felt like my life did not work out the way I tried to push it to work out. If I make the trilogy and then I go on and I make the most horrible movies in the world, I'll be fine because I'll have done what I dreamed about when I was growing up and supposedly got a regular job. And the day I walked away from that regular job, I said, I'm giving up a car and a house and all this because this is what I want to do. And so, it's a long journey, but we're making it, we're moving forward every day. So we're excited.
And both of you, what is the best case scenario? Like what would be a perfect scenario for both of you? I guess it's a separate question for both of you.
I'll answer it and then let you answer yours. Mine is to be able to do what Rodriguez and Catherine Bigelow do, which is they privately fund their films and then they go sell it to Hollywood. Instead of having Sony and all them fund the movie, they get private investing and they make their movie so they have complete control, and then they go sell it. And they make their money, and then they go, I don't care if it makes $1 billion, where you go make that. I've made enough money for me to be happy, and you go do it. And that's my dream. Not on that level. I'm like, if somebody would fund me $300,000 and I could sell it for $500,000 every time, I'd do this the rest of my life and never look back. And I'd be the happiest person in the world.
That's awesome.
Well, you went for like future goals. I thought you just went for the next movie, but now I gotta think. I don't know.
Well, Nicole, you're actually a bit different. I could ask you as the actress and the producer, because you are a producer on the film, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So
the real goal is just to wake up and see me every day. That's the real goal.
Living the dream.
Oh yeah. As an actress, it would be just to keep working and playing interesting women. If I could do this
and
for the
work
rest
with
of my
Daniel
life,
Day-Lewis.
well,
You want to work with
are we talking like crazy, like
Right.
win the lottery type dreams? Then it would be to work with Daniel Day-Lewis for sure. But no, if I could just do this for the rest of my life, playing women that I in some way am inspired by and can inspire other women, I would be the happiest person ever. And if we could make a little bit of money doing it, then great. And as a producer, I would say I'm really in line with what he was saying, that I would love to just be able to continue to make our films on our terms, but then be able to sell them to reach as many people as we can possibly reach.
Yeah,
that's great. And I'll wrap this up with the question I ask everybody I interview. It's basically the channel theme here. The channel name is Will I Like It. I've always preached that there's no such thing as a perfect movie, but there are perfect movies for certain people. So in asking you guys, who would you say that you listen? I got a movie for you. It's called Crawl or Die. This is your type of movie. Who would like Crawl or Die? Who would you suggest Crawl or Die to?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I've never been asked that. We've done a ton of these, and I've never.
I win.
That's a great question.
I would recommend it to people who are claustrophobic, because I think it would be very effective to you. I would recommend it to women who are into this genre. I know some people aren't into horror, but I think all women could relate to Tank, but we'll say women into this type of genre. And yeah, I think those are the two for me would be the thing, like claustrophobic people would really get affected by this movie, and like I think women could be empowered by this movie.
If I were being really stripped down honest, I would say if you were somebody who liked the first Mad Max and then loved the jump from that to the Road Warrior, the production value change, like if you can find the beauty in the indie style of Mad Max, or like the Rodriguez's very first film, and finding those films that maybe have some rough edges, they're extremely independent. That this would be a film that I think is well done. You know, I don't think it's a schlocky film. I think it's got a purpose, or I hope that people get that there was a purpose. You know, for me, my life has been about never giving up. I'm never the guy with I wish I was the guy with the rich uncle or somebody that won the lottery, but so you just get up and you keep trying every day and you just don't stop. And that to me is what Tank is. She just is not going to stop. Even though you may never get there, you still aren't going to stop. And so, you know, I think if you're somebody wanting Transformers or a film as big and blown up as Mad Max Fury Road, you're probably going to watch this and go, oh, no, what is this? But if you're somebody who is like, oh, I love the first Mad Max, I love the movie Pi, I like little gritty independent films that are trying to do something, then I definitely think this is something that most of those people would enjoy.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, do these guys a favor, go out to crawlordietrilogy.com, correct?
Yes.
And you know, go pay them for the movie if you're going to check it out, or buy the Blu-ray from them. They have that special pack. And Crawl or Die 2, do we have any sort of idea of when it's coming out?
It'll be next year. I mean, it's going to take us 4 or 5 months to build the set. I mean, it's a massive set. But our 24-hour 7 live feed goes up in October. That'll be on the crawlordietrilogy.com, and so people can check in at all hours of the day and see the progress we're making on the set build and all that kind of stuff. And
Great.
And if they're going to illegally watch the film, which is fine, at the very least maybe sign up for our newsletter. So because actually subscribers, the numbers of subscribers help us get a better sales agency deal down the road. So that does help us, it's a free thing to do. So
and we don't bombard you with stuff or spam you with anything. You'll just
once a month we put out a newsletter.
Yeah, guys, sign up for the newsletter with your business account. It's fine. Just it hurts no one. Business email, just sign up for it, and sign up for it with your home email, and watch and pay for the movie, for Pete's sake. It's worth a rent at the absolute very least, guys. Like seriously.
Yeah, I think we got it for $3.99 on our site. I mean, so you know, it's $3-4.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt anybody.
And hopefully we'll like it. Have a good time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Especially claustrophobic. That's the perfect. That's what I would say. If you have a hard time with tight spaces, this is this is a fun watch.
But you'll also be scared to death.
yeah. Like it's not like you're going to be bored. You're going to be captivated by it. You may be gritting your teeth, but it's certainly going to get a reaction out of you.
Yeah. And the good thing is, since you'd be watching it at home, you can like pause it and get a drink of water.
Yeah, stretch your arm, just like, oh, thank God I'm not really in that.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like when we were in the theaters, like they had us, we had to give waivers to people and tell, like we had a woman who passed out. And the flyer had directions so people could put their head between their knees. And we had this one guy that had to go out in the lobby and lay down. Like it was like,
in the theater, it's intense because there's really no escaping it. No matter where you look, you're in there. So
yeah, and we're not claustrophobic. So see, that part of it didn't affect us. But I mean, that's a real thing with people. And there was a guy who went through the tunnels in Korea, like in the military, and right. He has been a huge champion of this movie. But he was like, literally, if I had to watch the movie in 5-minute segments, then stop, get myself settled, do it again, watch the next 5 minutes, stop. He was like absolutely the most claustrophobic thing I've ever seen. And for us, we were like, yes. We were like, sorry you went through that, but yes.
All right, so there it is, guys. His name is Oklahoma Ward. He is the director. Her name is Nicole Alonso. She's the actress. They made a film called Crawl or Die. There's a second one coming out. Please be sure to check it out. For Nicole and Oklahoma, I am CP. Have a day.
Thank you very much.